The Siege of Bastogne, December 1944. It was the dead of winter in Belgium. Snow fell thick across the Ardennes forest, muffling the sound of war. The year was 1944, and the Allies believed the Germans were finished. The D-Day invasion had broken Hitler's Atlantic Wall. Paris was liberated, and Allied troops were pushing toward the Rhine. But deep inside Germany, Adolf Hitler was preparing a desperate counterattack, Operation Wacht am Rhein, known to history as the Battle of the Bulge. In the freezing dawn of December 16, the German army struck back with fury. Hundreds of tanks, including the dreaded Tiger and Panther, smashed through the thin American lines in the Ardennes. Thousands of men were cut off, surrounded, and thrown into chaos. The Germans hoped to split the Allied forces, recapture Antwerp, and force a peace on their own terms. One of their key targets was a small, snowbound town, Bastogne. At the crossroads of 7 major roads, it was vital to the German advance. If they took it, they could roll north and west. If they failed, the offensive would stall. The 101st Airborne stands alone. Into Bastogne marched the men of the 101st Airborne Division, the famous Screaming Eagles. Fresh from their triumph in Operation Market Garden, they were exhausted, undersupplied, and unprepared for winter warfare. Their commander, Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe, was a calm, pragmatic officer, not given to speeches or drama. When they reached Bastogne, they dug in among the frozen woods, building foxholes with bleeding hands. They had little ammunition, no winter clothing, and almost no medical supplies. Then, the snow began to fall heavier. Temperatures plunged below freezing. Soon, Bastogne was surrounded on all sides by German forces, 7 divisions strong. The Americans were trapped. Every road out was cut by enemy tanks and artillery. Paratroopers huddled in the snow, shivering in thin uniforms, their breath turning to frost in the air. They called it the coldest Christmas we ever spent.
The German demand. By December 22nd, the situation seemed hopeless. American casualties mounted, ammunition ran low, and wounded soldiers lay in field hospitals under blankets of snow. Then, just before noon, 4 German soldiers appeared under a white flag. They carried a written message from General Heinrich Freiherr von Luttwitz, commander of the German 47th Panzer Corps. The message was formal and cold. To the USA commander of the encircled town of Bastogne, there is only one possibility to save the encircled USA troops from total annihilation. That is the honorable surrender of the encircled town. The terms are, the white flag must be delivered within 2 hours. If this proposal is rejected, 1 German artillery corps and 6 heavy AA battalions are ready to annihilate the USA troops in and near Bastogne. The order for firing will be given immediately after this 2-hour term. The message was delivered to General McAuliffe in a small stone building being used as division headquarters. He was asleep when it arrived. His chief of staff, Colonel Joseph Harper, woke him up and read it aloud. McAuliffe listened in silence, rubbed his eyes, and muttered, "Oh, nuts." When his officers asked how to respond, he smiled and said, "Just write what I said. That's all it deserves." They did. To the German commander, nuts, the American commander. When the German emissaries received the note, they were confused. One of them asked, "What does this mean?" An American officer replied, "It means you can go to hell."
The aftermath. Holding Bastogne. The Germans were stunned. They had expected surrender, not defiance. Within hours, their artillery opened up with a thunderous bombardment, raining shells and fire on Bastogne. Trees shattered, buildings exploded, and the night sky glowed red with flame. But the 101st Airborne held firm. Day after day, the siege tightened. The defenders had almost no food. Medics ran out of morphine. Ammunition was counted bullet by bullet. Yet morale never broke.
The paratroopers joked that General McAuliffe says we're still holding, so we're still holding. Then, on December 26th, salvation came. The rumble of engines echoed through the snow. General George S. Patton's Third Army had broken through from the south. The lead tanks of the 37th Tank Battalion smashed into the German lines and rolled into Bastogne, their crews waving to the frostbitten paratroopers who had refused to surrender. The siege was lifted. Bastogne had held. After the battle. In the weeks that followed, the Battle of the Bulge continued to rage, but the German offensive had lost its momentum. Bastogne became a symbol of American resolve, a fortress that refused to fall. General McAuliffe's single word, nuts, became immortal, a rallying cry for the entire U.S. Army. The press called him the hero of Bastogne, but McAuliffe himself always downplayed it. He said the real heroes were the men in the foxholes. By January 1945, the Allies had regained all lost ground. The German army was shattered. The Battle of the Bulge was Hitler's last gamble, and it had failed.
Legacy. Today, in Bastogne, Belgium, there stands a great circular monument to the 101st Airborne Division. At its center, carved in stone, are the names of the states from which the defenders came. Each year, on the anniversary of the battle, veterans and visitors still gather there. In the snow-covered fields nearby, foxholes remain, silent reminders of what courage looks like when surrounded by darkness. And among the stories carved into history, one message endures: short, simple, defiant. To the German commander, nuts. The American commander,